Tonight's the night we are going to discuss the death of the Lincoln cent. The penny, as a lot of people like to call it, kind of a pet peeve of mine. I like to think of it as a cent because the United States Mint never actually minted a penny. Penny is a British term. And the penny, after 232 years, has bit the dust. Whatever you do, don't get me started on this particular picture because, from a collector's standpoint, the first thing that runs through all of our minds is a fingerprint. And to make it even worse, not just one fingerprint, but two. Now, we can delve into the history of the penny all we want, but reality basically says that the one we're most interested in is the Lincoln cent. It's the one that has captivated countless generations of collectors and just people for that matter. People used to find a penny on the ground, and as long as it was face up, it was a lucky penny. If it was face down, you were told, don't pick it up, it's bad luck. So the penny started losing its buying power probably about the late 1930s, early 1940s. And as a result of that, the United States Mint, in their infinite wisdom, decided we're just going to mint billions of them because we need to make up for their lack of value in buying power. They were more in demand because people needed more change when it came to actually making a transaction in regular everyday commerce. And we've seen that dissipate significantly since EBT or credit cards or debit cards were first started showing up on the landscape of the commerce industry. Used to be that, it was commonplace. You go in and they actually kind of frowned on the whole credit card thing, and they preferred you pay cash. And in today's world, there's a lot of people that actually still prefer to work in cash, and that's good. There's nothing wrong with that. But cash is coming to an end. The penny is just the beginning. The nickel probably is not far behind it. And the reason for the discontinuation, reality wise, is actually because of its cost to manufacture. Now, there have been all sorts of reports about the cost to manufacture a penny over the course of decades. And in doing a little bit of homework, the penny started costing us more to manufacture probably around the late 1970s, somewhere in there. And it was because it was an almost all copper coin. Technically speaking, it was made out of, excuse me, made out of brass that was used. And from that standpoint, the copper content started to take over in terms of the expense it was cost to actually manufacture the penny itself. And when that happened, we obviously saw a change in the early 1980s to a coin that was copper coated with a zinc core. And that went miserable for several years. And really, as time went on, they improved the production of it and they kind of got all the bugs worked out of it. It took them almost a decade to do that, but they finally made it work. And we've seen that penny continue on. Now, as we've gone through the first part of the 21st century here, the interesting part about this is that the penny has continued to increase in value. There have been some years where it cost, or not increase in value, sorry, increase in cost. And there have been some years where it has cost above 5 cents to actually make a penny. And that really, for the most part, is poor business. So, smartly enough, I will give the current administration credit for thinking that in order to save the taxpayers' money, some of the things we need to do is actually start looking at how much things cost. I mean, if you've ever watched a couple of movies, they talk about $100 hammers and $500 toilet seats and so on and so forth that the government buys and stuff. Look, it's a no brainer that when you're in business, you actually have to be able to turn a profit. You can't turn a profit if something's costing you more to manufacture than it's actually worth. The reason the penny continued on, in my opinion, for so long is because it held a very special place in a lot of people's hearts. And it was also considered difficult for a lot of businesses to be able to round up or round down when it came to rounding your change back. They didn't like to do that. Businesses lose money that way. It may not sound like much if you're just rounding down 2 cents or rounding up 2 cents, whatever the case might be. But multiply that by a lot of transactions, and you have a lot of money that changes hands and a lot of money that may either be made or lost, either direction. So when it comes to all of that, the penny finally said, we're done. Let's call it a day. So here's my thoughts when it comes to how this is going to impact the hobby. In order to describe how this is going to affect the hobby, we first have to figure out that there are two different types of collectors out there when it comes to Lincoln cents. All right. And for the most part, they are a very different set of collectors. There are collectors, like several people on the page, that choose to want to collect the best coin that they can of each mint and each year, all the way back to 1909. And they'll do this either raw coins, meaning unencapsulated or not graded by a professional grading service. And then there are the people that will also collect the best of the best graded coins. I'm not going to tell you that there is one right way or wrong way to collect coins because everybody has their own way to do it. All of the opinions that I give here are strictly just my viewpoints and mean absolutely nothing beyond that. So there's clarification for you. The people that collect coins that are the best of the best are people that have money to begin with, lots of it, usually, in order to be able to collect the best of the best. People like Stuart Blay, for example, who had an amazing collection of coins. Other people who are members of this page also have incredible collections of coins. But in reality, the core collector of individual coins is usually the one that collects raw coins. And that's the majority of us. And the reason for it is simple: money. We're after trying to collect the best raw coin that we can, put them in an album, and show them off every once in a while to family and friends or other people on the pages. And that's great. There's nothing wrong with either way of individual coin collecting. So, the other way of collecting is my hobby, roll collecting. This too takes a lot of money at times, and I'm not going to discourage anybody from wanting to collect rolls of coins, especially pennies. But here's my advice going forward for both types of collectors. First off, what we're going to see happen in the next 6 to 12 months is going to be this clamoring of people trying to collect, whether it be individual coins, whether it be slabbed coins, whether it be rolls of coins. They're all going to be clamoring to collect Lincoln cents. And the reason they're going to do this is they're going to think at some point all of these coins are going to become incredibly and increasingly valuable. No. Now, the people who collect graded coins that are the highest quality coins, yes, those coins are going to go up in value. They're going to continue to increase in value because no more are being made. So the collections that they have are only going to span from 1909 to 2025. They will collect no coins beyond 2025. It's a cool thing to have individual coins like that. It's a cool thing to have individual coins that are raw as well. The reason why I collect rolls of coins is simply put, my goal has always been to collect the best 50 coins per date, per mint mark, all the way back to 1909 that I can. The best quality rolls that I can. The reason for this is while all of those other people, and you've all seen my rolls of coins, I have some impressive rolls of coins. All of the other people that collect individual coins have done so because that's the way they choose to do it. I, however, have always looked at it from the standpoint that I now have 50 really, really nice collections. Not one or two, some people have backup sets, but 50. So I made the decision to do the roll collecting way back when. You all know the story. 1993, I technically started. 1996, I bought my first roll of coins. And as a result of that, I now have some impressive rolls of coins. What does that mean? Well, it means that those individual collections people have are going to increase in value. They're going to increase in value one set at a time, meaning they only have the one set. I have 50. Now, my advice to you is, and again, my opinion only, my advice to anybody doing this is if you have an individual collection of coins, whether it be raw or graded, either or, and you want to continue to collect that way, please do yourself a favor and do not switch ways of collecting now. In other words, if you buy individual coins that are raw, don't switch to buying graded coins now. And the reason, those graded coins are going to continue to go up and you're going to spend a lot of money on them because there's always going to be one graded better than the one you have. If you collect raw coins individually, finish your set. Finish it before it gets too late. Finish it within the next year or two. You don't have to have the best quality coins, but you do want to have nice quality coins. And my suggestion is don't do it from a making money standpoint. Do it from a collecting standpoint because you want to hand this particular collection down to another generation. You will find more joy in that. If you are collecting at this point of Lincoln Cents to make money at it, you are behind the eight ball. That is my opinion in terms of how you do it. Doesn't mean you can't do it the way you want to, but in my opinion, you are currently behind the eight ball. Now, if you are a roll collector like me, you are, and if you have been, you are probably currently sitting on a lot of rolls of coins. This too will increase in value. The rolls that you currently have will increase because no more are being made. I've said it all along that every single date and every single mint that I have, they're not making anymore. And that's why I buy them. I am no longer going to be buying a lot of rolls of coins. I currently own almost 3,000 uncirculated rolls of Lincoln Cents, everywhere from 1909 all the way up, all right, to 2025. I have a couple of boxes of them. If you've looked on eBay, you will have noticed that the cost of a box of Lincoln Cents for 2025 has gone from about $150 for a $25 box of Lincoln Cents to around $1,000 a box. This is the reason why I'm telling you don't try to buy it. People are going to buy these things. They're not going to get their money back out of them. You are not going to sell a roll of 2025 Lincoln cents for $50 a roll. It is not going to happen because there were so many of them made. Same with 2024 and 2023. There are currently people like Littleton Coin Company that are actually trying to sell individual 2025 Lincoln cents raw for $4 a piece. That is capitalism for you. If you can make money, people are going to try and do it. If your goal is to try and not spend a ton of money, work with what you have. Now, the other advice that I have for you to not make this too much longer than it actually is that when you get to a certain point of having enough rolls or enough individual coins, start to sell off the rolls that are duplicates, triplicates, or whatever, or the individual coins that are duplicates, triplicates, or whatever, because right now you will be able to make some money on them. And the beautiful part about doing that is it means that when you do want to go to a coin show and you want to invest in a little bit better quality 1930 Denver minted Lincoln cent, you're going to have the money to do it. And that's how you pay for your hobby. So, with all of that being said, about the only thing that I am leaving out here is, I guess, if you want to call it, the passion behind it. What I'm really hoping for as the Lincoln cent says goodbye is that the collectors that are out there now won't lose the passion for collecting those coins. Because really, once a series is done, there's a lot of people that don't like to collect it anymore. Take a look at the Mercury dime, take a look at the, you know, all sorts of the series over the course of decades that are still out there that nobody really collects anymore. And even current series, the Roosevelt dime, the I mentioned it before, the nickel, is the Jefferson nickel. Those are series that will eventually end, but they're not collected in passion at the moment. The Lincoln cent will always hold passion in most collectors' minds. So I really hope that the passion doesn't disappear, because the hobby of coin collecting deserves to be passed down from one generation to the next. My kids don't enjoy it as much as I do, but that's okay. They're still going to get one hell of a collection of Lincoln cents when I pass away from this world. And maybe then they'll be a little bit more excited about it. Maybe not, but I bet they're going to keep them. And to me, that means that maybe a generation beyond may stumble across my son's collection, my grandson, for example, and say, "Hey, Dad, tell me about this." I know I'm getting a little teary eyed, but I'm thinking beyond my years here. And maybe that passion will be renewed in a different generation. So don't think that because the Lincoln cent has disappeared, that its life in the collector's heart has disappeared along with it. Thank you very much for listening. I know I've probably rambled on at this, but it's important for people to know that just because a coin comes to an end in its production cycle doesn't mean that the love for collecting those coins disappears with it. Have a good evening, and I will talk to you later.